Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2024 Italian Grand Prix. Yes, it is race week once again, the second in as many weeks, and hopefully this one will be a little bit more eventful than last weekend's race was. And to be fair, with its long flat-out straights, tight chicanes and low downforce setups, the Temple of Speed, as it's often referred to, is a completely different challenge to the one that drivers faced last time out, so that might mix things up just a little bit. I said might. But anyway, let's jump into the preview, starting as always with a look at the track and all those juicy stats that follow. Juicy was a choice. Anyway, last weekend, F1 was in Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix, where Lando Norris absolutely cruised to his second career victory. But now it is on to Italy for the second time this year and for round 16 of the season. A lap of the famous and fantastic Monza is 5.793 kilometers long. If you prefer that in miles, that is 3.59. And it's made up of 11 very famous corners with 53 racing laps scheduled for Sunday. And the race lap record, by the way, is still held by Rubens Barrichello, who posted a 1:21.046 back in 2004. This weekend, there will be two DRS zones in use, with the first between turns 7 and 8. That is the second Lesmo and the Ascari chicane, if you would prefer the corner names. And the final zone runs down that very long start-finish straight. The detection points for each of those zones, by the way, are just before turn 7 and just after the final corner, respectively. And as you'd probably expect, it is through and at the end of those zones where we're likely to see the most overtaking happen on Sunday, although moves can be made elsewhere, including some spectacular side-by-side action through Curva Grande and into the second chicane, and perhaps even into Parabolica, although that would leave the overtaking driver vulnerable into the first chicane, so perhaps not. There have also been some changes to the circuit this year to modernise the venue in an attempt to secure its long-term future on the calendar, including changes to some of the underpasses and a refurbishment of the circuit's water collection and drainage systems. But the one that really matters for the racing is that the whole track has been resurfaced, and that could make things very interesting as the weekend unfolds. More on that shortly. On top of that, there have been changes to some of the curbs around the track as well. And last season, Max Verstappen took his record-breaking 10th win on the bounce from second on the grid, leading home teammate Sergio Perez, who made it a Red Bull 1-2, and pole sitter Carlos Sainz took the final step on the podium. And actually, Max Verstappen has won the last two Italian Grand Prix and could join Juan Manuel Fangio as the only other driver to win at Monza in 3 consecutive years if he takes the win on Sunday. Fangio, if you're interested, doing so in 1953, 1954 and 1955. 3 in a row, 3. Well, that's very convenient because 3 is also the number of dry tyre compounds available across a race weekend. Oh yes, that is right, people. It is tyre talk time once again. The compounds available for this one then are, as they were in 2023, the softest in the Pirelli range, and so they are the hard C3, the medium C4 and the soft C5. Now, as already mentioned, the entire track has been resurfaced for this year, and that will have a big impact on strategy. The surface will, as you'd expect, be smoother, but it is also darker in colour, and that darker surface will mean it could retain more heat than the old surface, and that will have a big impact on tyre temperatures. Pirelli saying that if the sun is shining, they could reach significant highs of over 50 degrees C. The extra grip that on paper the surface should offer will impact tyre performance at operating temperature ranges too, and it's worth a mention as well that track evolution will be higher than we usually see at Monza due to the new surface, helped of course by the support categories across the event. In terms of tyre stress, Monza is moderately demanding, and the key to unlocking the best lap time is stability under braking. Some big stops here, and good traction coming out of those first 2 chicanes will be critical too, something which also puts a lot of demand on the tyres. Oh, and of course, a good top speed is important as well, and it's worth noting the lateral loads on the tyres through Parabolica and Curva Grande will also put the tyres through their paces. Last year's winning strategy was a one-stopper, with Max Verstappen starting on the medium tyres before pitting on lap 20 to switch to the hard compound, which he ran to the end of the race. In fact, the top 10 drivers all pitted just the once, and throughout the whole field, just 6 drivers chose to make a second stop, although all drivers did use a combination of mediums and hards, with the softs not used by anyone on Sunday. And Pirelli predicts that a one-stopper will be the way to go this weekend, again due in part to the total pit lane loss time being one of the highest of the year. And on that note, the total pit lane loss time in 2023 was largely between 24 and 26 seconds. The safety car has made quite a few appearances in recent years, but we have only seen 9 races feature at least one since 2000, although a full safety car has made at least one appearance at 3 of the last 4 races at Monza. As for the weather this week, it looks much more settled than it was at Zandvoort and much warmer too, so that could have a massive impact on the tyres and therefore strategy on Sunday. And as always, the most up-to-date forecast as of Thursday morning is on screen for you to have a look at now. And your schedule for this one is back to the usual European times, basically everything apart from the race is an hour later than it was last weekend. So, as always, FP1 kicks the weekend off on Friday at 12:30pm BST, and FP2 takes place later that same afternoon at 4pm. Saturday's F1 track action starts with FP3 at 11:30am with qualifying underway from 3pm. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 2pm, and once again that is in UK time. Now, before I make another round of, let's face it, terrible predictions, let's have a quick run through some news, and really there is only one story to discuss this week. Can you guess which one it is? In case you missed it on Tuesday afternoon, it has been confirmed that Logan Sargeant has lost his seat at Williams for the rest of this season, with his place being taken by the team's junior driver Franco Colapinto. It has been a difficult year for Sargeant, and rumours have been swirling pretty much all season about his departure being imminent. I actually recall some saying he will be gone for Imola, and Antonelli was set to take his place with special dispensation from the FIA. So the fact he has been moved on is probably not a huge shock to many. In the press release announcing the decision, James Vowles said that replacing a driver mid-season was not a decision the team had taken lightly, but believes it gives Williams the best chance to compete for points over the remainder of the season, and he added, quote, "We have just brought a large upgrade to the car and need to maximise every point-scoring opportunity in a remarkably tight midfield battle. We also believe in investing in our young drivers in the Williams Racing Driver Academy, and Franco is getting a fantastic opportunity to demonstrate what he is capable of across the final 9 rounds of the season." He also said Colapinto has great speed and huge potential. On Sargeant, Vowles said it was incredibly tough on the driver, who he added has given his all throughout his time at the team, and went on to thank him for all his hard work and his positive attitude before saying again, quote, "Logan remains a talented driver and we will support him to continue his racing career for the future." Look, some will say it was harsh to drop Sargeant, others will say it should have happened sooner, but this is a results-based business for the most part at least, and the fact is he just wasn't delivering. I do believe we saw some improvement and some positive steps at times this year, but they weren't consistent enough, and so this all seemed kind of inevitable. Ultimately, he's not been quick enough, he's been involved in too many crashes, including that expensive one last Saturday, and struggled to really hook it up consistently in F1 over the last 2 years. I do hope, though, that he finds a seat somewhere for next year and beyond. It won't be in F1, but perhaps those IndyCar rumours from earlier this year will come to something and he can go and have some fun over there. On Colapinto, you could argue it's not a surprise to see the team's junior driver get called up, but given the names being thrown around, so Liam Lawson, Mick Schumacher and even Stoffel Van Dorn, the latter one from me, although Harry Benjamin did apparently suggest the same idea, so I'm not 100% mad, just 99%, but anyway, given those names mentioned being in the mix, it did come as a bit of a surprise to me to see Colapinto get the nod. Yes, it is a bit of a gamble, of course it is, but he did impress the team when he took part in FP1 at Silverstone, so they may well have some data that makes them think he's worth taking a bit of a risk on. Rumours of Lawson talk stalling and Schumacher's other racing commitments could be a factor too, but I'm sure we'll find out more over the course of the weekend. I'll be rooting for Colapinto though, that is for sure, and I hope he does well. What an opportunity. And super quickly, as a reminder, Kimi Antonelli will also make his F1 debut this weekend and at his home Grand Prix as well. The young Italian who turned 18 last week will be behind the wheel of George Russell's car on Friday, and he says his debut will be really special and is naturally really excited to drive the car and, quote, share the track with so many amazing drivers. Right then, shall we make some predictions? Probably a bad idea, but let's go for it anyway. As always, please do not take these too seriously. They're just a little bit of fun, but if you do disagree with my picks, which you frankly should, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. And last week, another absolute disaster. Wrong on more or less everything, although half a point for Norris and Verstappen making the top 3, but in the wrong places. And hey, I get a point for Norris getting fastest lap, so awful, but could be worse, but I still just want to move on. So let's keep going. This week, it's tough to bet against McLaren again, isn't it? Especially given the gap to Verstappen on Sunday at Zandvoort. However, as mentioned at the start, this is a very different type of circuit and will offer up a very different challenge for the drivers. McLaren are very strong on high downforce tracks, for example, but less so at low downforce, which will be the case at Monza. Ferrari have also confirmed that they are introducing updates to the car for this weekend's event, and so that could bring them into play. And if it does get too hot, Mercedes could well struggle. Honestly, a really fascinating weekend ahead. Now, as much as I'd love to go all in on Ferrari, they do sometimes enjoy low downforce tracks after all, but I do still think we're looking at McLaren versus Red Bull for this one. I went with Piastri last time, so I will move more towards Red Bull for this one, again bearing in mind that even though McLaren seem to be good everywhere, they are, let's say, more comfortable at higher downforce circuits. Although it will be interesting this weekend to see how their latest upgrade package affects that. It might improve their car at low downforce, we'll see. So for this one, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen just to sneak pole position on Saturday, and I'll say he takes the win on Sunday too, but it will be really close, and it could just as easily end up being Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, or a Ferrari. Maybe a Mercedes, although I'm less confident on that one. It really is just so tough to call though. McLaren will still be strong, of course they will, and so I'll say Norris P2. And to make it interesting, let's say Charles Leclerc takes the final spot on the podium. Same top three as last weekend, but in a slightly different order. And to make the point again, you could swap Norris out for Piastri, Leclerc for Sainz or whatever. I'm not ruling any of them out at all. As for best of the rest, as mentioned a couple of times now, I think this could be a tough one for Mercedes, so I'll go for them as the 4th best finishing team on Sunday. And my separate bolder picks for Monza are a really strong Q2 appearance on debut for Franco Colapinto. That would be incredible. Alex Albon picks up a point or two in the other Williams on Sunday. Could be a good track for them. And my final bold prediction is a top 10 finish for Esteban Ocon. I'm really looking forward to this one, but that is it for the Italian Grand Prix preview. But you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back tomorrow with an important channel announcement, so keep an eye out for that. Definitely give it a watch if you can, and then I'll be live on Saturday from 2 PM BST to answer some of your questions about that announcement, as well as for the qualifying watch-along, which will follow in the same stream from 2:30 PM-ish. And of course, I'll be live shortly after the race on Sunday with Stuart this week for some race reaction. In the meantime, though, if you did enjoy this one, then please do leave a like, as it really does help the channel in its never-ending fight with the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. Lots to come over the next few days. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.